So thank you, Hayley, and thank you to Eco-Schools Australia and Keep Australia Beautiful for inviting me this afternoon. I've been asked to present to you some ideas that you can take away and take back to your school. I'll be going through how to set up an eco team, or how we do it at our school. Obviously, you can do it any way you like, but it's just an idea of how we set up and how to, I suppose, get your principal on board, the different types of grants you can apply for, how you can get your school involved, and what you actually have to do for an eco code. And hopefully my video works a little bit later and you can see our eco code. So now I'm just going to share my screen with you. Okay, so this was the journey from our green flag. So we submitted an application at the end of 2020 and the judges came out in the end of January 2021, and then we were awarded our green flag in February 2021. So we are almost up for 2 years accreditation. So by the end of this year, we'll resubmit another application back to Hayley to maintain our green flag. So, hold on a second. So when you're thinking of putting a team together, I think you also have to, I was thinking about understanding the role of the teacher, you know, being a facilitator for students as an environment leader. And so it doesn't have to be one person, it can be a group of passionate people, but I think you all have to be on the same page. And it's really great if you can get some of your student leaders as well, some of the year sixes who can help you with a lot of projects, because they can be very influential with other students. It's important for the whole school to be engaged and being part of these projects. So setting up a team, and consider what you can do at your school in terms of, you know, starting small. So we started very small and just had 3 veggie garden beds, and, you know, we didn't start recycling until a couple of years later. So then thinking about how you're going to implement it. So creating a sustainable future, you know, teaching and learning sustainable programs. There's heaps of them out there on the web and lots of business partners you can reach out to in the community. But these projects must have, you know, student voice, be led by students to help foster, you know, and grow them into responsible citizens of the future. I like a lot of projects that we've completed because we've extended the outside classroom learning space. You know, you're taking them outside and solving real world problems and changing up that platform for them. It makes it a little bit more exciting. So a little bit of background about me. You know, I grew up watching lots of natural world documentaries in the 1980s. And then I became obsessed with Professor Brian Cox. My background is, I have a visual arts background and I worked as an interior designer for many years. And then I later went on and did a Masters of Primary Teaching. But during my art days, a lot of my paintings are a cry for ecology, a crying out for help. So I'll often paint a scene of a fish laying in hospital bed with a drip in its hand, and outside is the toxic nuclear waste that's outside in the ocean. So I can be a little bit crazy in my thoughts and my processes, but I think I've learned how to channel that into some positive actions of environment education. So you won't see me chained to a bulldozer or anything like that, but I think this is my way of you know, finding my niche and how to express myself and be an environmentalist. Yeah, I think it's really good and really important to become members of a lot of agencies out there. So obviously we're members of Eco-Schools, and we have been since 2018 with Australian Association of Environmental Education. There's lots of Facebook groups as well you can join, and your local AAEE centres. Lots of environment education centres in your district. Look for those. Reach out to your local council. They often can help you. There would be a sustainability officer there who can also point you in the right direction. But we're part of the FEEN Facebook group, a couple of us in our eco team, and that's the Penrith Hawkesbury Environmental Educators Network. So it's full of Penrith Council, the mayors in there, lots of EEC teachers, principals, classroom teachers, and some private industry people as well. So it's a great place to chat and share stories, and we get a lot of ideas from each other, and we usually meet once a term. And we used to go to visit each other's schools actually before COVID, but now we just meet on Teams or Zoom. So yeah, as a teacher, trying to be a facilitator in growing environmental champions and leaders. That's what I'm hoping that I'm doing. And yeah, I was recently awarded the Sustainable Teacher of the Year, but I think there's been a new one announced for this year, this week. So congratulations to the new award recipient. And yes, we were the first school in New South Wales to receive the green flag, but I think we were third, Hayley. I think there was a school in Victoria and a school in Queensland before us.
I think it might have been 2 Queensland schools.
2 Queenslands, yeah.
Or maybe 1 Northern Territory and 1 Queensland.
Yeah.
Queensland here, yes, Banami and then Bell. I gave the flag to Bell.
2 Queensland.
Yeah, can't have it. Queenslander. Yeah.
Yeah.
Queenslander are proud.
Yeah, very good. So setting up an environment team. So yeah, I think it's, I've just put some ideas here, identify teachers who are keen and important. Obviously, you've got to have genuine people who want to join the team. So don't put it out there, or, you need to have a rep from each stage or something like that to come up to your staff meeting. Otherwise, those people will just turn up and really not help because, they're sort of being forced into that situation. So even if you just start with 2 or 3 teachers who just want to do a few things across the board, but the most important thing is obviously you have to have your principal on board. I think I was just really lucky when I started here in 2017. My direct supervisor at the time had come from a school down in the Sutherland Shire, and they had a really big environment team. And when I came and said, I just want to set up a little environment team, like I'm not happy with all the rubbish laying around, he said, great, let's start a little eco team and let's get started and we'll have meetings. And he bought me these little claw grabbers, and we just started, he and I started walking around on a Thursday lunchtime with kids from whoever wanted to join us, and we started cleaning up the school. And then we celebrated Clean Up Australia Day, of course. And things just snowballed from there. And then one teacher said, can I have some money to set up 3 veggie garden beds? She was on stage 3 and she wanted the kids to start growing seeds for science, for STEM. And then our P&C purchased them for her. So, that's really how we started. We had the principal, we had a deputy, we had our GA. You've really got to get your GA on board because they are the great ones that can make and do lots of things for you while you're on class. And we have a fantastic SLSO. So without our GA, Mick McAnally, and our SLSOs, Anna Jurisic, and I must name them here because without those 2, we couldn't have functioned or achieved what we've achieved today. Both of them live close by. Anna comes every day in the holidays to look after the farm and puts the sprinklers on for the garden beds. So, we wouldn't have it without them. So as of this year, we've got the principal, a deputy, AP, GA, SLSO. We have 13 teachers this year on our team. We've got a P&C president, the Aboriginal Education Officer, and a parent rep. So being part of an environment team, allows students to have a voice, and that's what you want them to have. We don't exclude anyone. Now, I know other schools will set up an eco team and say, they just want 2 reps from each class. but we don't do that here. We just want everybody and anybody who wants to be on the team. And whatever project we're running, well, then it goes with that class and that teacher. Or, for example, garden club, kids who ever turn up to help out at the farm or watering plants, then they're all part of the environment team. We just say they're all part of the environment team. So we're trying to be as inclusive and as open as possible. We do meet frequently. So throughout the year, we meet every term in week 4 and week 7. And we take minutes, and they are distributed. They're put on Central. We do a lot of advertising. So we have a big Facebook following and Twitter at our school. And we're using a new Central for Parents. So we do send information out regularly. And I think the important thing is if you would like to be accredited, you need to keep your records of your journey. And one way is, when you are letting your wider school community know through your newsletters or Facebook, a lot of times I've just screenshot that Facebook posting or screenshot that newsletter going out, and then I've put that in a Word document, because there you go, there's your evidence. You're keeping your community informed. Meeting outcomes, the teaching content for the curriculum, you could find a sustainable project that could really meet any outcome. So there's an outcome for everything that you do. And even if you just want to start at the basis and even look at the Australian curriculum, the rationale, there's a lot of things in there, and then you can break it down into your New South Wales curriculum. Focus is definitely preparing students, because there's going to be this mandate that we have to do certain things by 2025. There's going to be another mandate coming out soon that we have to have all these things done by 2030. So we really don't have a lot of time to get students on board and schools and rolling out environment education. It's improving student learning outcomes, and it provides a platform for all students, including students with a disability, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, and now our new HBGE learners that we all have to do PL on. So, how did we begin? We had 2 teachers, Cassandra and Lynn, again, 2 ladies instrumental from the very beginning, who have all of these teachers that have done these projects have all left, which is why I'm presenting to you, because I'm the longest last one standing. But we've had some great teachers here who've done some fabulous things over the years. And these 2 ladies wanted to bring awareness about palm oil and decided to do some fundraising. And that money that we raised provides security for 3 orangutans. And we had these beautiful baby orangutans everywhere, plastered all over our school, and everybody knew that we'd fundraised to look after them. It was so cute. We had 2 teachers that did the garden beds. And that year we did provide it to a charity called Mama Llamas, which is a local charity here. Excuse me. And we also looked after a charity in Cambodia who builds wells for schools. One teacher did the TerraCycle. So I'm just going to go into a coughing fit. Can you talk for a minute for me?
You're all right. All right. TerraCycle, I'm guessing maybe you had those Colgate boxes in the school. I remember that being a huge thing, yeah. And I'll just read this out for you. One teacher started on Thursday lunchtime walking around the school with a bin and some extended claws to pick up rubbish around. Well, that was you, to pick up rubbish around the school. Also started promoting Clean Up Australia Day, walk safely and ride safely to school days, introduced nude food on Wednesday to cut down on plastic waste.
Thanks, Hayley. Sorry.
No worries.
Ever since I had COVID, if I talk for too long, I have this dry tickle in my throat and I start coughing.
Yeah, I have to have a lozenge in my mouth for a while after just to talk. Yeah.
And using your partners. So There is a lot of projects out there. So, for example, obviously eco-schools are a wealth of knowledge that are there to support you. Their website is full of lots of resources. And you can look at, the usual. There's also lots of museums as well have links to environment education and resources. And your EEC. So, for example, we've been involved with Penrith Lakes Environmental Education Centre since 2018. We did a kitchen garden expo with them. The Penrith Mayor's Office, we did a Parkitect project, so we designed a park in our local area. So we collaborated with our local mayor. We've had 2 grants with Landcare and Woolworths. One we did a habitat garden for, and as a result of that, it was hugely successful, and we partnered with Landcare and Woolworths on other projects since then. So we've been involved with them at their local Smarty Grants advertising campaign. And a couple of our students are now plastered all over Woolworths in the stores promoting their grants. And they were in the Fresh Ideas magazine helping to promote it. And we also had Sunrise TV show come to our school last year, one morning. We've been involved as well with the Be Wise project. So we also got another grant from Landcare and Woolworths, and now we have Native Bees. The Sustainable Schools New South Wales grant, we used it for a sensory garden. And I believe the 4th round is still open, and I think it's closing soon. So if you would like a grant for your school, have a look for what's called Sustainable Schools New South Wales grant. That's a great resource to have, because you can apply for up to $15,000, I think it is. So it's quite a sum of money. Creative Koala is another great project, all about sustainability. There's lots of hands-on professional learning with teachers, and it's a real art project. It's a real great STEM project. We've also collaborated with our local agricultural high school, which is Richmond College. And we've entered a couple of competitions with them as well that they've had running. And we've had them at our school for incursions and excursions, and they're a great connection as well. Oz Harvest, we've collaborated with Oz Harvest for the last 4 or 5 years now. They all have a fabulous feast program that schools can apply for, and it's about $3,000 worth of resources, professional learning, cooking equipment, and it's a really great kitchen garden program. And you don't even have to have a kitchen, because when we first started it in 2019, we started using just electric frying pans on the balcony of the classroom. So these recipes that are in their books are so easy and very child friendly and are very easy. So look up for that one. National Parks and Wildlife Service, we did the Junior Rangers program. Greening Australia, we were involved in Cooling the Schools grant, where we applied and were successful, and we've had 200 trees planted around our school perimeter. And that'll be a great shade and canopy in years to come. Bunnings Hardware is another great resource for you to tap into. They've helped our school out immensely. They did a mini makeover at one of our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander gardens, and they usually give us a $500 voucher every year to go and buy plants and things, because our GA's there all the time buying resources and things for the school. So it's just their way of giving back to us. And of course, your AA, EE, and your FEEN and Sustainable Schools, and Red Frogs Recycling, Bingo Industries, they're also great resources to tap in. We have proper bingo bins that just pick up our paper recycling, and our Red Frogs are the people who pick up our return and earn. So yeah, you've got to get students who are super keen. And that's not hard. I just think if you put it out there at assembly, anyone interested to be a part of the environment team, you'll probably end up with half the school will turn up. So, you know, there's never anybody who's not going to be interested. I think it's just a magnet for kids to come and help. We started a lot of these projects, obviously, like I'm off class now because I'm a learning support teacher, but I did a lot when I was on class. So when I was on class, I did the Eco-Schools Twinning project, and we collaborated with the school in England and communicated and shared stories about their environment journey. And they actually had already had received their green flag in England. And so I got a lot of help and advice from the teachers there. And the kids loved it because we used Edmodo, which I don't think is very popular anymore, but it's sort of like Facebook for educators, or it used to be, and we'd share our stories. And same with the Cass and Lynn for the orangutan. They were on different levels, different stages. So Cass was in stage 1 and Year 6 teacher Lynn, but they just decided to buddy up and do that project together, which was lovely because you had, you know, the infants and the primary working together. But I think, yeah, you just have to really choose some staff who are willing to do it, because obviously a lot of these things that you have to do are outside of normal working hours. Especially applying for grants, they take a while. And then organising, you know, we all have to do risk assessments and VTRs. You know, there's often a lot of paperwork around these projects. So, yeah, and as I said, you can't get by without your SLSO and your GA on board. So talking about a big idea, we had something very simple, which is, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. And I suppose that just came about naturally. It was in 2018, we asked the students, what can be our little slogan or motto? And it was some kids in my class who came up with it. And then after that, we just made, I'm not sure if the next, here it is. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that's made out of, there were some old recycled robots. They were throwing these, they were called EXO computers, and they were just, I couldn't even tell you how old they were, but half of them didn't even work. So we removed all the batteries and all the chemical parts, components, and we turned them into batteries, and we turned them into robots. This one's missing its arm, but it did have arms. And we made out of plastic lids, and it's still on the wall. Reduce, reuse, recycle, and around the outside is all those plastic bread tags. And then we started using just pallets and bins and anything we could get our hands on. One year we used just milk crates and lined them with cardboard, and we had about 8 of those going, and we grew potatoes in them. We had a passion fruit vine growing over some old mesh and net that was strung together. It stood up for about 3 years and it finally fell down, and we had to replace it with something else. But and our GA, as you can see, these lovely blue and yellow seats, he made those out of pallets, and they're dotted around different areas of the school. So, yeah, you have to come up with a slogan for your eco code. And we also had, we made a YouTube video, which we used as evidence. I'll try and show you that a little bit later if you like. But where it says be greener, we have our PBL metrics, positive behaviour for learning, is be responsible, be respectful, be a learner. And in 2019, we added be greener and be deadly to include our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. And so in class, we have a PBL matrix. I'm just thinking there's not one here in the AP's office where I am. Here it is. I can pull it up the wall. So being greener is, you know, you have your safe, respectful learner, and it will say here how you can be safe and how you can be respectful and how you can be a learner and how you can be greener. So children can look at this poster on the wall in the classroom and identify, or a teacher can identify, okay, they've been doing that, and then it goes along with our award system. So if they're being greener, they'll be achieving like a superstar award, and then the amount of superstars at the end of the year is tallied, and then we have our rewards and award, like a reward day where students have a day out and do lots of fun things. That's another way to encourage them. So yeah, I think what I have now is really just some slides showing you, I suppose, where we started and when we became members of Eco-Schools Australia. I think the only other few things I just want to show you before we pause is creating an action plan. I know that there's a brand new action plan that's come out this year, but this was the template we used for a few years. And I think it's important as a team to come together to create and write an action plan. And that way, and it can be a fluid document. So recently we were successful in obtaining the tree levy grant from Teachers Federation. And of course, that's only been added in now. So, your action plan can be fluid as projects, or you get grants as they come in through the year. With the Litter Legends campaign that's not running anymore.
No, I was just going to say, if you are happy with that action plan template, use it. Whatever works.
Okay, yeah.
Use it, yeah.
Yeah, I think we did one this year on that old template before I realised you had a new one.
Yeah, I mean, and it is just a template. So
yeah,
stick with what works.
Yeah. And then we all sort of take ownership, filling it out. So it's in a central place in teams at our school. This is obviously part of the Litter Legends campaign, which is not running anymore, unfortunately. But we were a part of that for 3 years. And we also had to stick to a timeline and agree to all of these things and come up with an agreement. But here are some students that were in my class. This was 2018, I think, when we first started Litter Legends. And we would weigh and measure all the plastic waste every month and then write that report, which was this one here. We would fill in and have each month's survey of the litter and how much we weighed. And unfortunately this must be in 2020. This was when we had to lock down due to COVID. So there was no measurement in August and September that year. And we even started as well, like we have spent quite a bit of money and experimented with different bins, but even just starting to do your own return and earn, it can be very simple. We purchased those aqua-coloured bins from Kmart for $5, and each class has an aqua one for return and earn containers. And then we have a grey coloured one for paper recycling. So the paper one goes up to the bingo bin. But the return and earn, I think it's really good if you have one class teacher and a whole class, and it's so easy if you just take that class out once a fortnight with a big bin. We have special orange bins from Red Frogs, and just go around and collect it, put it all in together in the bin, and then as the students there, they were measuring it, which has been a great activity for mathematics. Sorry, there's people walking behind me. So these orange bins there are our Red Frog bins, and then on the right-hand side, they're the boys who were helping that day, and there you can see the grey bins there that we use for our paper recycling. This is our twinning project. So this was just a snapshot, and this is what was used for evidence as part of our green flag application, where you can clearly identify that we've been communicating. So anything like that is good to keep for your evidence when you're applying for your green flag. And here is a picture of our garden club and our farm. So we have, this is just explaining, one year we did Little Legends and we did the cycle of paper instead of plastic one year. And we chose an area, and you can still do this. It doesn't have to be a Little Legends campaign. You can choose an area of the school. So we chose the office. And we thought, right, let's measure all of the paper that is going to the recycle bin for the whole year that came just out of the office. And that's what we did. So for one whole year, we just measured how much waste was coming out of the office, and everyone was just surprised. And then we shredded a lot, obviously, because you have your shredding, and we used that in our kitchen garden program. So we used it in our chicken coop as well. We used it in the rabbit cage, put some in the compost bin, and we also used a little bit and mixed it with a lucerne mulch, and that worked great. So we got rid of a lot of paper then. And I think, yeah, when you're talking, so here's some admin for if there's any APs or exec staff here. We decided in 2018 that we would, form it as part of our strategic direction. And it's funny, it's always been in strategic plan direction number 2. So back then we had it together. So students have and use tools to be creative, critical and collaborative thinkers who model a growth mindset. So this is when we first had our farm, and we thought that was a great place to help students come together. And then in the 2021 to 2024, we've mixed it with our wellbeing and attendance, and talked about how students connect, succeed and thrive. And we've embedded lots of eco and into our PBL system. Environment education also connects with the wellbeing framework. So, if you're needing data or evidence to supply to your PNC or to your principal, this is where you can find a lot of this information. So if you look at the wellbeing framework, there's lots here about students engaging in environment education. Equally so, it's in the early learning years framework. Okay, so it talks about an environment teams program would link to. It's also embedded in the Northern Territory Education Declaration. There's lots of concepts talked about there on page 15 about sustainability. It's also included in the Melbourne Declaration of Education Goals. It's in Goal 1, it's in Goal 2. And the Australian curriculum, so you've got lots of codes here that you can link it to. You need the systems, the worldview, and the futures. It's all about sustainable futures. And of course, we usually like to link a lot of our things to the UN goals. So yeah, I think we just started with the war on waste, and we just started in 2018. We had composting, worm farms, chickens and ducks, and we started feeding them all our food scraps. And that's the year we also started recycling. So at the end of 2018, we achieved the Bronze Award. And then for everything we did it in 2019, we received the Silver. And then for everything we did in 2020, this is where we received the Green Flag. And I think it's really lovely that I get a lot of parents come and say to me, do you know, my daughter now is growing, veggies, and here's a couple of pictures that Mum gave me. And Bronte, who is a past student and who was in my class and stayed with the environment team the whole duration of primary school, here she is in her backyard growing, and look at her sunflowers and what she was able to achieve. And she's gone off to high school now, and she still calls in to see me at least once a week and lets me know what she's doing in her garden at home. And here's another student I have in year 3. I don't know if you can hear this. And so I saw her mum the day when I was filming, and I said, so what's all this about you not recycling anymore? And she said, it's just because we're not buying any plastic water bottles. So I think that's great when your community comes to you and, tells you what they're doing or how their lives have changed as a result of being involved in some, sustainable practices. We have a lot on our YouTube account. Obviously, I don't want to bore you and show you all of them, but if you have time, sit down with a cup of coffee and have a look at our school. We have the students have made a lot of YouTube clips. They're not perfect and they haven't been made by teachers. So there's a few hiccups and funny moments, but we've just left them because they've been made by the kids. So, yeah. I'll turn over to you, Hayley. I think I've talked enough.